Hello friends, I am Ajoy Ashirwad and we are back to that time of the year when we look back at everything politically momentous that happened through the year, the good, the bad and the ugly. Prime Minister Modi won his third term, although with deep cuts that has now forced him to depend on his allies. A year ago, who would have thought that he won't scale new highs, especially when he and his party had already proclaimed a predetermined victory with over 400 seats. The Ram Mandir at Ayodhya was inaugurated amidst a manufactured hysteria and a fanfare that saw a great number of influential Indian people marking their attendance at the event. Very few had the gumption to even remember the temple stood at the site of a demolished mosque. Even fewer, those in bureaucracy, politics, judiciary, and civil society, had the courage to remember that the Hindu appropriation of a mosque marked a watershed moment in the history of Indian communalism and sectarianism. Then we saw the BJP bouncing back with an unprecedented majority in Maharashtra, although not without facing accusations of manipulation and rigging. But it lost Jharkhand again as Adivasi leaders Hemant Soren and his partner Kalpana Soren emerged as new faces of resistance in politics. Arvind Kejriwal turned the table on BJP by surprisingly resigning from his chief minister's position immediately after securing bail.
आज से 2 दिन के बाद मैं सीएम की कुर्सी से इस्तीफा देने जा रहा हूं और मैं तब तक सीएम की कुर्सी पे नहीं बैठूंगा जब तक जनता अपना फैसला ना सुना दे.
He alleged that there was no point retaining a position where he wasn't free to take important decisions, advancing the perception that Aam Aadmi Party government was prevented from doing good work by the Modi-led BJP government at the center. Rather, the wily Kejriwal decided to begin his campaign for 2025 elections, even as he appointed Atisha Singh, a Rhodes Scholar and his loyal aide, as the chief minister in his absence. But as political scenarios changed like a fast-moving hurricane this year, three things caught my special attention. And they may not be obviously important in the overall dynamics of electoral politics, but was surely political in the way it impacted our lives and perceptions. Having been criticized for a number of judgments that favored the Modi government, and sometimes curiously so, the Supreme Court was under the public scrutiny for its independence, or lack of it. It had to stand up, and it did, by quashing the electoral bond scheme of the Modi government. It agreed that electoral bonds were nothing but a formalization of corruption and cronyism. It lampooned the provision in it of keeping the names of donors a secret. It pointedly raised all the important questions around the opacity in the scheme and hit back at the government by asking about the need for such a scheme when there were already more transparent ways for donors to fund political parties. Supreme Court saved its reputation a bit by ending the electoral bond scheme but then also doubled down on its judgment by asking the Election Commission of India to give detailed information like dates, donors and amounts in every small detail. The data that came after showed how mainstream parties had nearly become slaves of big corporations. The Indian bigwigs in the Indian corporate world had secured massive projects by governments soon after the ruling parties received donations from them. There were multiple known, little known, and unknown, and even some shell companies whose names came up as donors in the electoral scheme. It became well known and documented that there exists a relationship of quid pro quo between big industrialists and governments. Many of these companies were either raided or were also under scanner, so it wasn't a surprise for many of us. To no one's surprise, but BJP emerged as the biggest beneficiary of the scheme, having received nearly 48% of the total donations. It received over 6,000 crores. The second biggest beneficiary was a distant second, but surprisingly it turned out to be Trinamool Congress, which received over 1,600 crores. The Congress was third in the list, having received over 1,400 crores, and the other two in the top five were K. Chandrasekhar Rao's Bharat Rashtra Samiti and Naveen Patnaik's Biju Janata Dal. The second most important event of the year for me was the Amani Wedding. It wasn't a wedding, but a series of events spread across months, all carefully planned to grab all attention. It was projected as an employment generator and one that also gave a boost to the Indian economy. The groom Anant Ambani was shown as a conservationist, an ecologist, an animal lover, a philanthropist, and also a dancer. The bride, Radhika Merchant, hailed from another business family. She too was a Bharatnatyam dancer and a philanthropist, and also won hearts on her social media videos by her petite demeanor. It was as much a matrimonial alliance between two business houses as the most watched social media event of the year. Everyone talked about it and watched it. From top influencers to a laborer in the field, such was its reach on social media. It was as much a traditional Indian marriage as an event heavily influenced by Western aesthetics. It was everything. Expensive gifts were being given. The press, including in the international media, constantly covered each and every move, every detail, and received a warm welcome at Antila, the Ambani household in Mumbai. And trust Mukesh Ambani to lead the pack. The wedding changed the PR game in India entirely and actually the world. It showed the world what a private event can achieve as a business enterprise. It was the grandest event of the year. Top of the line international artists like Rihanna, Justin Bieber, Rema, Lucy Fonsi, Katy Perry performed at various functions of the event. The government even went ahead to open a defense airport in Jamnagar, Gujarat for commercial flights during the time so that these artists from international artists could land in a small place like Jamnagar. Elephants were transported from Assam to Jamnagar to showcase Anant Ambani's animal rescue work. Indian film stars too performed. Big and small film stars, bureaucrats, industrialists, ministers, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, attended the event to bless the couple. The only exception was the Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, who put up a small show of resistance. As Modi blessed the couple at the Ambani house, he posted a picture eating a pie at a New Delhi pizzeria. Unofficial estimates indicate that the whole wedding would have cost the Ambanis a whopping rupees 5,000 crore. It mirrored the growing inequality in India like nothing else, as common people feel deeply squeezed and are penny pinching at every stage of their life to even access basic facilities like food, shelter, essential commodities. The Ambani wedding showed how the rich were doing in Modi's regime. But what may have been unintentional, the Ambani wedding also took all the steam out of the Ram Mandir campaign of the BJP. For over 5 months, the Ambani wedding dominated every single social media platform at a time when BJP was hoping to make Ram Mandir an election issue. The Ambani wedding did not only deflect attention from the manufactured mass hysteria around Ram Temple, but also did not let the audience become clued in to the BJP's campaign. If not the biggest, the Ambani wedding could also be one of the reasons for Modi's failing to attract attention ahead of the elections, a trend he had gotten used to over the last decade. Last but not the least, the third important event of the year for me was BJP's surprising loss in Ayodhya. Did anyone imagine BJP losing from a constituency which was the crux of its campaign? I certainly did not think so. It did not only lose the Ayodhya seat, but its formidable candidate and two-time MP Lallu Singh lost to a Dalit leader, Avadhesh Prasad. BJP, which had pinned all hopes on Ram Mandir in Ayodhya and its Ram Janmabhoomi movement, could not have faced a worse dejection and shame in the Lok Sabha polls. But what the Ayodhya results also foregrounded was also the fact that the Mandal-Kamandal political binary that dictated politics in the 90s had come back in a new form and shape. The OBCs, minorities and Dalits consolidated behind the Samajwadi Party candidate in Ayodhya and sent a strong signal to BJP and its perceived high-handedness. If the BJP reflects Hindutva today, the opposition has come to firmly occupy the Mandal Bahujan space. Naturally, the demand for a caste census and slogans like Save the Constitution has resonated in the opposition space, while the BJP seems to be veering decidedly towards its brand of cultural nationalism and showing India as a civilizational ancient state. The recent debate on the Constitution in Parliament should also be seen in that continuum. As we move on again to another year, these three developments, I feel, and the trends it has ushered in, will also continue to impact India and Indians in 2025. But right now, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year on behalf of the WISE entire team. Stay well and stay happy.